Alright, today's video we're going to quickly revamp over metadata and then move into looking at some page level information such as density and use of heading tags. So as a reminder, when you have metadata on your website, it is not a scoreable feature. However, it is something that somebody reads when they are going online. So for example, you have, this is a title, meta title. This is their meta description. Meta title, meta description. Now, Google used to, they don't do really this anymore, but they used to bold your keyword, your focus keyword that you're searching for in the metadata. I haven't seen them do that for a while. It was nice that they did it, but it's just one of the little things that they've tweaked over time. But again, title and description. So because they have no scoreable feature, what you put in there only benefits the reader and furthers the effort of educating Google over what it is that you offer. So when you go to put in metadata, it's just a matter of putting it in a real world way. It doesn't have to be fancy or written a special way. As a matter of fact, you can even go to ChatGPT and say, I need 150 characters for my custom signs or my banners or decals or whatever, and it'll do a decent job of spitting it out. So let me show you how to do that. And if you choose to use ChatGPT, this is how you would use it. So first thing you do is come up here and grab your URL and then bring it over to ChatGPT. Paste it in and say needed 150 characters for a meta description. If you wanted to do it together, you can put needed up to 70 characters for meta title, and then needed 150 characters for meta description. Click enter, searching the web. In other words, just pulling up the page. There you go. A Quality Signs, Custom Apparel, Madison, Wisconsin. Okay. Now, is that the perfect one? Again, not scoreable. And ChatGPT, while it can give you data, it's not an SEO expert. So what you might want to do is come back and say, okay, well, this is good, but I want it to specifically have at the beginning of that, custom apparel or printed apparel or whatever, because it's probably in here is probably why it did it. Let's choose a different page. Let's go over to your website, and instead we'll do one like this. Now once you begin a chat line, you don't have to retype everything. So same for searching the web. Okay, A Quality Sign, vehicle wraps and lettering. Now, I'm not a fan of the way that it's spitting this out. Again, ChatGPT's not the expert, but at least gives you something to work with instead of looking at a blank screen. If it was me, I would type in vehicle wraps and lettering and then put in the line and then A Quality Signs and then Madison, Wisconsin. If it was me, right? Again, this is not scoreable, nor is it the expert ChatGPT, but it does give you something to work with. So, full and partial vehicle wraps, vinyl lettering and graphics by Quality Signs, eye-catching branding, fast local service. Boom. So you can literally copy that except for the quotations and paste it right in your meta description area. If you didn't want to change this at all and you just wanted to use it, then you just copy and paste it. But this gives you an idea if you're in a hurry and you just want to make sure there's something good in there. That's basically what you do. You give it the URL, make sure you tell it what you want. Okay, if you don't, it's just going to give you this great big old long meta description. So tell it maximum of 70 characters for titles, maximum of 150. Now remember, our butter zone for meta descriptions is 140. It usually never gives you the exact 150 because it's going to take it up to the last word. So saying 150 characters is probably going to get 140, so it works out really well. You can go up to 300, but just keep in mind there's a good chance that all 300 characters will not be viewable on Google. So that's why I say 150 is a nice sweet spot. So meta description, 150 characters, not words, and then meta title is up to 70 characters, not words. And then you can reorganize that if you want to, or just come in here and just grab your meta and drop it right in. Right? Again, not scoreable, so what it says, you just need to make sure it doesn't say anything wrong. And as long as you're okay with what it says, you just drop it in, move to the next page. Now, let's go and talk about density, things of that nature. So we're going to actually stay on this page, vehicle wraps and lettering. So if you're taking notes, number one is you need to make sure that this is the search term. Now, when we write content for a customer's website, if we write SEO content, it's $190 a page, okay? Because there's a lot of little work that goes behind it. One of that is hiring an SEO specialist to actually run keyword for your market to find out which one's which. Now, sign companies are probably the last people that we would ever do that with. Electricians and plumbers, we do that in a heartbeat. And the reason for that is for sign companies, 99% of the time, the actual product is the search term, wait for it, for those people who know what they're looking for. Now, for sign companies, it's a 50-50 split. If most of your customers are company level, well, you're fine. They know what a vehicle wrap is. They may not know what just vehicle lettering is. You're going to have to explain that to a certain extent for a new business owner. But if you got somebody who's been around for a while, he knows he's looking for vehicle wraps. He knows he's looking for channel letters. He knows he's looking for LED signage. And he's going to search specifically for that. But what you want to make sure is that you're optimizing it for the specific service that you're going for. Right? Now, that being said, vehicle wraps and lettering is great for a standard page. But if you want it to be laser focused, then you're going to have to choose what your focus key term is. Hence the name. The focus key term is the specific search term that somebody would use that you want to come up in. So unless somebody types in vehicle wraps and lettering, then Google's going to not have a hard time, but they're going to look at that and go, well, we're not exactly sure which we should send this customer here or not. Because you have to put this together as an actual search term. So I would recommend eventually breaking this up and having vehicle wraps, and then vehicle lettering, and then partial vehicle wraps, if you really want to get heavy duty with it and make it laser focused to a specific search term, providing that people are actually searching for partial vehicle wraps. Because let's just face it, that's not really a common thing. If we come over here and go partial vehicle wraps, you got it in here. Well, maybe they are. But I don't know that somebody's going to actually take the time to search for that. Okay, so again, you have to put yourself in the business owner's shoes and ask yourself, is this a search term like, again, channel letters? Will they even know what the heck that is? Or are they just looking for outdoor signage or storefront signage? And that's what you want to be found for. Okay, so that step number one is before you optimize a page to a particular search term, you got to make sure you're optimizing it for that specific search term. If not, it's not the end of the world, because Google is smart enough to know that vehicle wraps and lettering, what it is pick up what you're laying down. However, it's going to put those pages that are focused specifically on what the customer typed in before they'll do one that they're not 100% sure about. I hope that makes sense. So someone who has a page specifically about vehicle wraps in Madison, Wisconsin, Google's going to be more likely to display that page, and then vehicle wraps and lettering might be the next page down. Right? So you're still in the running, but, and that's the pain with SEO. We get it. Is when you get into the focus key term, determining what the actual search term is that you want to build from. Now I'm going to build from the mindset of vehicle wraps. Now if we go to our cheat sheet, we get a little bit of information about that. So here's our on-page focus key term density and structure, right? So number one, figuring out what your focus keyword is. Now we tell customers that there are 3 phases to quality content. Number one, make it say what you want it to say. If the content that you're writing is just a bunch of ChatGPT gobbledygook, then you're not helping anybody, including yourself. You want to make sure that the content that you are putting on your page actually says what you want it to say. Then we tweak it, right? I can't even begin to stress that enough, right? So we don't want to turn this into a Wikipedia post that is so focused on a search term that it basically says, A Quality Signs has the best vehicle wraps in the Madison, Wisconsin area. Call us today for vehicle wraps, because we do vehicle wraps better than anyone else who does vehicle wraps, because we're the best at doing vehicle wraps. That's the way content used to be written a long time ago. But you can see where that algorithm is going to totally ignore that, because it's just stuffing a bunch of key terms, right? So let's deal with this kind of one step at a time. So number one, making sure that the focus keyword that you're going to check and begin to optimize is actually the key term that you're going for. Once you determine, I'm going to create this content to be specifically focused on the word vehicle wraps, then we want to make sure that that term, vehicle wraps, is in the page title. We want to make sure it's in the first sentence of the page. We want to make sure it's in at least one of the H2s. We want to make sure it's in one of the H3s where applicable. We want to make sure it's in your meta title, which is what you were doing at the beginning of this video. We want to make sure it's in the meta description. We want to make sure that it's in the focus keyword area. Now this is not doesn't have to be there. It's just there for you to remember what the focus keyword is about. Google can't see that. Then we're going to talk about density, okay? Because once you make sure it's in all these right places, we're going to go back and look at the density. And then if you have any pictures, we're going to make sure that it's in here, okay? Now, so let's start with the focus key term, vehicle wraps. Now I'm in your editor. And even though we have vehicle wraps and lettering, again, as long as the search term vehicle wraps is in there, we are fine, okay? Because that's what we're going to be optimizing for. So as long as you're good with the content, then we can begin. So vehicle wraps is not or is in your H1. Anything that's in a title section up here is automatically an H1. After your H1, you have a little introduction. Then you have an H2. The H2 is your first big main reason why, fill in the blank, why you do vehicle wraps, that you do vehicle wraps, right? It's your first main point. Then you come down a little bit further. You have your second main point. Then you'll have a little sub point, such as a gallery. And then sub point, sub point, sub point. So let's go back up here. So we're going to, first thing we want to do is it's in here. But we want to make sure that it's in the first sentence right here. So vehicle wraps. Oops. Vehicle wraps and lettering that keeps your brand on the move. Period. Okay. Then blah, 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 blah. Then we're going to put vehicle wraps made to fit, built to last. Okay. Now, this down here says vehicle graphics and lettering, which is fine. But we're going to change this to popular uses for vehicle wraps and lettering. Excuse me. We're going to come down a little bit further. Now this is an H3. So the way we're going to fix this is go gallery for vehicle wraps. I'm going to come down a little bit further. This is also an H3. This is also an H3. And then this is your final H2. Now you don't have to have vehicle wraps in every heading tag. Period. Okay? Just like it says in our cheat sheet here. We want it in an H1, in one of the H2s, in one of the H3s, and that's really all you need. Okay? Because you can really oversaturate a page faster than you think. Okay? Let's go back over here. And then I'm going to click Update. And then we're going to go to the front end and refresh. Now, one of the things that it also mentions in our cheat sheet is needed 500 words or more. Better at 700. So that if you have a page that only has a couple paragraphs on it, you might need to use ChatGPT to fluff it up a little bit because the algorithm can't trigger without at least 500 words. When we're writing articles on a professional level, we usually put them in about 1,500 words. Because the more content you have, the easier it is for Google to find what it's looking for. But don't write content for content's sake. It's better to have 500 words that make sense than 1,500 words that nobody's ever going to read. Okay? You can really make something complex unnecessarily. So now we've refreshed. This is where I had you add this SEO Quake in the other day. So now I'm going to click on the SEO Quake. First thing I'm going to do is go to Page Diagnosis right here. Now this tells me a couple of things. Number one, I have 62 characters for my title. Optimal. I got a green check mark. I have 198 characters for my meta description. Optimal. Okay? Anything 300 or under, this thing's going to say optimal. Okay? Just keep that in mind. Remember, our butter zone is 150. Okay? Super important. That's our butter zone. So you want to make sure that you keep it in that butter zone. But if you go up to 300, like I said, it doesn't hurt anything. It's not scoreable. Okay? Now, anytime you see this little I, it means nothing. It's just suggestive. Completely suggestive. Okay? Now, we're going down a little bit more. Headings. Says good. Now, if we open this up, we have our H1, vehicle wraps and lettering. Our H2, vehicle wraps, blah, 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 blah. So as long as we don't have duplicate stuff or we got two H1s for some reason or something like that, we're perfectly fine. Okay? Now we have 23 images without alt. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. However, I want you to notice it has this little megaphone next to it. That also means that you should look at it, but it's not a mission critical item. excuse me, before Gemini came along, there used to be a yellow triangle or a red triangle right there with a little exclamation point in the middle. The reason why it would have that is because back then, before Gemini, Google couldn't tell what the image was unless you told it what the image was. So now you have 23 images without alt data that Gemini can look at and use facial recognition technology and say, that's a picture of a van. That's a picture of a box truck. That's a picture of a guy walking down the street, right? So it now uses it to create its own stuff. But again, when we package up a website in an SEO environment, we're literally hand placing, we're handing Google exactly what we want them to walk away with, so that they come out with the same conclusion that we want them to. This page is about vehicle wraps, period, right? That's the conclusion we want them to walk away with. And if it's confusing to them, there you go. In other words, if it's a picture of a parking lot and you're clearly showing that it's a picture of a van, it may not know what you mean. So that's where taking the time to go in and put alt data in your pictures, and again, we'll show you where to do that in a minute, is helpful, but not mission critical. It's not scoreable. So whether you have it or don't have it, it doesn't hurt your score. You're only using it to better educate Google on what it is you have on your page. Now the next line down says 9.66, ouch. Your website ratio to text HTML code is 15%. We suggest adding a lot more text to your website. Now this is not scoreable. This is basically because you're running a gallery. If you didn't have a gallery in there, it wouldn't matter. But because you have a gallery, it matters. So don't sweat it when you see this number. It's not scoreable. It's there so that you have the appropriate amount of content. Now, this also means you could easily add another probably 250 to 300 words worth of content and balance that right out. Okay? So, again, this is the massaging that you do over a period of time. You deal with the things that are important, and then the next phase you come back and you tweak it, and the next phase you come back and tweak it. That's why SEO takes so long, because even a company like ours, it takes 2 to 3 months to properly optimize a website, because you can't do everything in one pass. It would take forever and be incredibly expensive. So you just got to do it in phases. You cover the most important part that's scoreable, and then you come back and you do some tweaking. Everything else below this is pretty much irrelevant. Okay? So don't even worry about the rest of it. The only thing you're worried about right now is, yep, I got a title. Yep, I got a meta description. Yep, I got my heading tags, and I don't have any duplicate. Like if you had a duplicate H1, it would go warning, warning, Will Robinson. Okay, so you're fine on that. And then, we talked about this and this. Everything else underneath here is completely irrelevant for Google right now. Okay? Now, that's the diagnosis. Now we're going to go to density, which, by the way, are really the only two things on here that I use. Period. Density. Now, the butter zone for density is between 1.99 and 3.99%. So the word of the day is vehicle wraps. So let's look again at our density. Vehicle wraps is how many words? Yes, boys and girls, 2 words. So I'm going to click on that. Vehicle graphics is our density word at 1.98%. So if our search term or our focus search term was vehicle graphics, we're fine. The problem is our focus search term is down here with vehicle wraps. So in addition to that, I want you to notice these little things right here. It says found in a header or in the H1, found in the description, and found in the page title. So when we get done with this, we're going to go through and make a couple of minor adjustments so that our vehicle wraps is at the appropriate density level, and that we also have it in these three areas right here. See? Now, let's go back to our page. So that's why I say, once you get the content saying what you want it to say, tweaking it is easy. You don't have to rewrite the entire thing. We just have to swap a few things out. So now we got vehicle graphics and lettering, most cost-effective way. We're going to copy the word vehicle. We're going to change vehicle graphics right here to vehicle wraps. And we're going to come down a little bit further. Okay, now we're going to click Update. Then we're going to go to the front end of the website and refresh. We're going to close the SEO Quake because for whatever reason the program does not auto-update. So you have to basically close it, come up here and click SEO Quake again, and then click on Density. Now let's go back and look. Now we have vehicle wraps. Our density is 1.98, which means we need to go maybe 1 or 2 more terms. Our butter zone's 1.99 and 3.99. So we can easily add 2, 3, 4 more terms of vehicle wraps. Right? Now, if you go up to 3 words, wraps and lettering, blah, blah, all of that is really irrelevant because this is the focus key term that we're going after. Right there. Okay? Is the 2-word. Now, if you had a longer terms, like let's just say the search term was vehicle wraps and lettering, that'd be 4. Okay? Vehicle wraps and lettering. That would be 4. So we'd optimize that. But we're not. We're just going for vehicle wraps. Okay? So let's go back to our page. And let's look at some more places that we could put that in there. Vehicle contract home delivery service. Adding custom. Adding a custom vehicle wrap. Lettering and graphics to your vehicle gives your brand visibility, blah, blah, blah. We specialize in clean, professional vehicle wraps that promote your business, key display, blah, blah, blah. We could put it in there more, but again, we don't want to go too much. It's a balance. Now we're going to click Update. And the other thing that you notice in here, and I do this when I'm writing content, you notice your name is not in here hardly anywhere. Okay? Sometimes I put it down here in the last paragraph. That is because your Google business listing is linked to your website. Google knows who you are. If somebody is on your website, they know who you are. So you don't want to dilute your focus keyword by mentioning A-quality signs and custom apparel again and again and again and again and again. You're now competing with vehicle wraps because you use the name of your company too much. I see that all the time. That's why when I write content, I leave it completely out of there because it's right here, it's up here, it's down the bottom, it's everywhere, right? You don't need it to be in your content, honestly. All right, so we're going to close this again. Remember, going to come in here and refresh. And we're going to run our SEO Quake again. Let's run over to density. We're going to hit our 2-word keyword table. Vehicle wraps is now at 2.2. We're well above the 1.99. We have 9 repeats, and it's in the H1. It's in the description. It's in the title. It's also, if we come back over here, according to our cheat sheet, it's in the H1. It's in the first sentence of the page. It's in an H2. It's in an H3. It's in your meta title. It's in your meta description, right? It's everywhere that it needs to be. It's kind of like that old American Express thing. Now, what we don't have in here is a meta description. Now, you said, well, wait a minute. We saw meta description a minute ago in SEO Quake. Ah, yes, we did. Remember, Google makes up its own meta description if you don't have anything in there. That's why it's not scoreable. So that's why we want to go back to here and grab this, Control C, and come back over to our page. Paste it right there. Again, we want to put vehicle wraps here only because it's a reminder to us that we have optimized this page. When I go through and I SEO a page, when I see something written right there, it tells me I've already done this page. This is kind of like the identifier for me. Then we're going to put vehicle wraps and lettering. A quality signs. Madison WI. I always like to double check because I wrote this myself and not ChatGPT. I'm going to run over to letter count and paste it. Count characters, I'm at 58, so I could technically shove in a little bit more if I wanted to. Like custom graphics, right? Could probably put that in there. Let's see here. Wraps. Let's see what this does for me. I'm at 76. I'm a little bit above. Not the end of the world. Let's just put in graphics instead of custom graphics. Okay. Grab that. And then come back over to our page and put that right there. Now, the last thing on our little list here is what I mentioned. That is the alt data. Now, it's a little tricky, sticky on the gallery, so I'm going to go to that here in just a second as well. Inside here, if I click once, it comes up with these little tools right here. I want to click the pencil. Now, here's my alternative text. Now, here's the thing. You want to use real world information. We don't want to use this to just stuff keywords in here for no reason. So what we want to do is put a box truck with partial vehicle wrap. There we go. Box truck with partial vehicle wrap. Honestly, you don't need anything more in there. Again, not scoreable. We're just telling Google what that image actually is, right? Then we come back and click update. Now, we don't want to put it in the caption or anywhere else. We want it to specifically be in that alt text. And then click update. Now, here's where it gets a little more tricky. I'm going to leave this page here for a moment and go into your media folder. Now, this is where the labor of love comes into play should you decide to do this. Again, it's not scoreable. Okay, so whether you do it or not, it's not going to increase your Google score. You're just trying to use this as additional real estate to educate Google about your products. Inside the media here, you can click on an image and put in your alt text right here. And then down at the bottom, it'll automatically save as you put it in there. And then you just go to the next one, you go to the next one, you go to the next one, you go to the next one, and you just keep putting in your alt data. Now, this is what I consider next level detailed SEO. This is not something you want to do right now. Right now, you want to make sure your metadata is in. You want to go through and make the determination of what your focus keyword is for each page, and then begin to curtail your content using this information right here. Make sure that each page has at least the 500 words. Make sure the focus keyword for that particular page is in the title, in the first sentence, in the H2s, H3s, and then its density level, just like I showed you in the video here. All of that's in there, okay? That is 900,213 times more important than it is trying to figure out, I want to go through and add alt data for 700 images on my website. Because again, it's not scoreable. If it was, I'd say we got to do it. Now, if I do anything at all, I would, personally speaking, take the time to, if I have any embedded images, not galleries, but embedded images. In other words, the image here, or if you had an image down here, something like that, I would take the time to at least put it in there. That's just me, because it only takes a second to do that. And there are going to be some pages that you don't have galleries on, right? So you're definitely going to have an image there. So you should take the time to do it there. Okay? But that's pretty much it, right? So if you can cover doing that on all of your pages, what I just described in this video step by step, your website's strength will be very strong. Your kung fu will be very, very strong. Okay? Don't get stressed out. Take it in stages if you need to. But use the cheat sheet and follow this on-page focus key term density right down the list here. But it's super, super, super important, like I said in the beginning, to make the determination what I'm getting ready to do. Let's just go over to the home page here. So sign printing. If you're going to optimize the page for the search term sign printing, I would recommend, at minimum, going to the internet and putting that in. Seeing how many other companies have that listed as a focus search term for their websites, right? Man, sign printing's got all of these big box stores. Look at this: UPS stores, signs.com, staples.com, Walmart Business Printing, blah, blah. And that's because it uses the word printing in it. So because it seems like that would be a competitive term, would be worthwhile putting it in there. However, if the focus of the page is something else other than sign printing, then that's where you might want to say illuminated signs, or have a separate page specifically about illuminated outdoor signs, a separate page on backlit outdoor signs, or something like something that might be a little bit more specific. And some of those specifics are down below: building signs, electric signs, event signs, outdoor, office signs, retail, that kind of stuff, right? You know what you mean by sign printing, but does your customer, the person who's sitting down and searching for that term, is that actually a term? Okay? If you optimize a page, it's not the end of the world if your plan is to eventually create additional pages excuse me, that focus on these other things. You should have a page eventually on yard signs. You should have a page eventually on office signs, or if you don't already. I think you do, actually. Window graphics, being more specific about that, right? Printed wallpaper, being more specific about that. So there's lots of room to grow the more specific that you want to become. Okay? So consider your search terms. Consider what's your juiciest search terms that you know for a fact that people search for, and then optimize those pages first.